The first question you have to ask is how many species are there? Because there is what is called a federation, and they have rules. For example, one of the rules is that they don't interfere in our affairs unless they're invited to. They have accepted the fact this is our planet and that we have the right to run it, but they're very, very concerned. They don't think we're good stewards of our planet.
Well, the question of are we alone is answered. That is, if Paul Hellyer is correct. But is it really all that simple? Not at all. But Hellyer wasn't the only one talking openly about different alien species or types of NHI's non-human intelligence or alternate human intelligences that may be in contact with us.
Aliens exist and President Trump knows about it. That's according to Israel's former space security chief.
So what do we really know? Well, potentially an awful lot, because some really big names have a lot to say about visitors to Earth. And as always, you gotta stay to the end to get the whole picture. So where did Canada's former Defense Minister Paul Hellyer get that information from? By Hellyer's own admission, he says a confidant on their deathbed shared with him the secret. But it was not something that he learned during his long tenure in politics and government. Now, since going public, he said that others had come forward and shared even more information with him about the alleged Federation. But it was never his secret. He was just the messenger for someone else. Now, Hellyer claimed a deal was initially struck with the Truman administration in the late 1940s after the Roswell crash, and that would allow for human abductions in exchange for sharing their technology with us.
The first question you have to ask is how many species are there? And I used to think there were, between 2 and 12. And Apollo astronaut Edgar Mitchell, who came to Toronto a few years ago and had dinner with us, agreed that it was somewhere between 2 and 12.
Now, it's interesting because Mitchell was someone who was deeply connected to secret government programs involving things like ESP and remote viewing, especially connected to SRI, Stanford Research Institute, and that's where Ingo Swann and Uri Geller were brought to work on their exceptional abilities. But the dinner between Hellyer and Mitchell is interesting, especially given what came out from WikiLeaks email dumps during the second Obama administration. According to emails published by WikiLeaks, Dr. Edgar Mitchell allegedly tried to get a meeting with President Barack Obama during the early part of his first term in the White House. Now, the emails show that Mitchell, or someone purporting to represent him, was trying to get in touch with John Podesta. They were even offering to bring along a representative from the Vatican, and they were prepared to discuss things like America giving up its nuclear weapons and not weaponizing space in exchange for humans to be able to access zero-point energy, the mythical free energy, and even join a collective of more advanced species already in our solar system. Non-human intelligences that have been essentially monitoring Earth and humans and our self-destructive habits, especially the peril that we pose to the planet. That's a common theme that many people who claim to have had encounters have referenced. Now, it's unclear if President Obama ever took that meeting, but John Podesta was part of the group that helped shepherd those UAP videos to the New York Times in 2017. Podesta also worked with Christopher Mellon. And a few years after those New York Times videos came out, in 2020, well, Israel dropped a bombshell of its own.
Comes from the man who headed Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years. Haim Eshed is making the extraordinary claim that the United States and Israel have been in contact with a group of aliens for years. He has called them the Galactic Federation of Aliens.
Even that aliens have interfered to prevent things like a nuclear apocalypse. There's even a secret joint human-alien base underground on Mars that was staffed by humans and aliens. Now, he added that humans weren't ready to know the full extent of the truth and that even President Donald Trump was close to revealing the existence of the Galactic Federation in the dying days of his presidency, but was dissuaded from doing so. But that hasn't stopped others from talking about it. Former top leader of the CIA, John Ramirez, has gone so far as to say that rumors are swirling in Washington.
The word got out within the government that they're showing up in 2027, and we better be prepared. And if not, there's going to be a lot of explaining to do. And so I think that dialogue has happened within, inside the government, in certain areas inside the government, that we need to prepare. And that's why in 2017, that set a clock of 10 years.
He said there was even talk of a live alien retrieved from a crash at Roswell that was taken to what is now Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And when it comes to encountering strange beings and objects, odd vehicles in space, just talk to the guys at NASA.
Visit the moon of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato-shaped object that goes around Mars once in 7 hours. When people find out about that, they're going to say, who put that there? Who put that there?
Here's a quote from your letter. I believe that these extraterrestrial vehicles and their crews are visiting this planet from other planets and are obviously a little more advanced than we are here on Earth. And are you saying that's exactly why governments have been trying to keep this information private, because of that obvious advancement?
Very possibly, right.
But we're the ones who came from somewhere else. Because somebody else had to survive, and they got in a little spacecraft, and they came here, and they landed, and they started civilization here. That's what I believe. And if you don't believe me, go get books on the ancient Sumerians and see what they had to say.
That's a whole different discussion now.
They'll tell you right up front.
You've just blown that right open.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Even David Grusch, when he testified in the summer of 2023 before Congress, had this to say.
Do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Now, all of which aligns with statements made by disclosure advocate John Lear almost 40 years ago.
Gray ones, what kind of a deal we got going with them? Is that the bunch that you suggest we've made a deal with for military technology?
I think we made a deal with them, and their ultimate, what they want to do is regenerate their own race. President Truman established MJ-12, and the purpose of that was to study the saucers and cover up the existence of UFO. George, is at least 70 different species, and probably more. Unfortunately, they're not so benevolent.
In September of 2023, investigative journalist Ross Coulthart went so far as to offer a timeline for when the lid might blow off the existence of non-human intelligence.
Across the world, there are people who are in a position to assert that they know that the human race is aware of a non-human intelligence. And I think that the world will probably know publicly within, I suspect, 12 to 18 months.
Between us and the truth lies a hidden invisible wall that seems to hold back the reality that nobody wants to talk about, until someone above our elected officials deems it so.
A shadowy government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own fundraising mechanism, and the ability to pursue its own ideas of the national interest, free from all checks and balances, and free from the law itself.
Our military organization today bears little relation to that known of any of my predecessors in peacetime. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
So whether it's 1 or 100, it seems, at some point soon, the disclosure discussions, well, they're going to have to start to evolve beyond just those strange objects in the sky and start to think about who's inside them and why. I'm Sean. Thanks for watching and making all the way to the end. Do you think the Galactic Federation's real? What do you think? Share your thoughts below. It's a wild story, but a lot of people are talking about it, and parts of it have been around for such a long time. What do you think? Tell me below. Be sure to like and subscribe. I've got great new material coming all the time, and share the videos. YouTube's algorithm really likes it, and I certainly appreciate it as well. Stay tuned. I've got another great video for you coming up next. Stay tuned and click the box. I got another great video for you coming up next.